Ever wonder what happens like if you're in a really serious accident?
Yeah.
Like way beyond what your normal insurance would cover.
Yeah.
We're going to find out. Today, we're diving deep into high-limit accident insurance, and we're looking specifically at Petersen International Underwriters,
Yeah.
or PIU.
Okay.
And this stuff is pretty wild. It's not like your typical car insurance or anything.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so let's jump right in. The document we've got here focuses on something called accidental death and dismemberment, AD&D.
Yeah.
Kind of a mouthful, right?
Yeah.
Sounds kind of intense, don't you think?
It does. It does. But when you break it down, it's basically meant to give you some financial protection if you're in an accident, a bad accident, like if you get seriously hurt or, the
Yeah.
worst happens.
It's like a safety net for those really extreme situations, right?
Yeah.
And this document, it calls it high-limit coverage,
Mm-hmm.
is that basically for people who need like a lot more coverage than a regular policy would give them.
Exactly. Think about it. Some people just have riskier lives than others.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. They might need that extra layer of protection.
So who exactly are we talking about here? Who needs this kind of insurance? Like, are we talking stunt people and, I don't know, race car drivers?
Well, yeah, they could, but it's actually a lot broader than that. This document mentions hazardous activities, so that could be anything from extreme sports to, I don't know, working on an oil rig.
Right.
And get this, it even covers risks from war and terrorism. That's not something you see every day.
Whoa, wait a minute. War and terrorism. Seriously. Okay, now that is definitely not your average insurance policy.
And one more thing, this could be huge for people who have pre-existing medical conditions. They might have trouble getting approved for regular life insurance, but this could be an option.
Okay, hold on. Back up a sec. You're telling me they're insuring against war and terrorism.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm a journalist, say, covering a conflict zone.
Yeah, that's the idea. It's meant to give some peace of mind in those really dangerous situations, but there is a big exception. They don't cover nuclear, biological, or chemical attacks.
Interesting. Why not those, I wonder?
It comes down to risk, right? Those kinds of events are so unpredictable, so potentially catastrophic. It's basically impossible for insurance companies to figure out how to price that risk accurately.
So it's about managing risk then.
Yeah.
Balancing providing coverage with, the realities of these crazy events that could happen. Okay, this document gets pretty specific, though, about the benefit structure. It actually lists out the different payouts for different injuries. And some of these are really surprising. Like 50% for losing one limb? That seems like a lot.
I know, it sounds kind of wild, right? But it actually makes sense when you think about it. The payouts are based on how severe the injury is and how it's going to affect your life in the long run. Like, can you still work?
Right, so it's not just about paying for the immediate medical bills. It's about compensating for, like, lost income and stuff.
Exactly.
Okay, there's something else that jumped out at me. The document says this PIU insurance is additional to other insurance you might have. So if I've already got health and life insurance, how does this fit in? Would this be good for someone who travels a lot? Maybe.
You got it. It's like an extra layer, not a replacement. And yeah, frequent travelers, especially if they're going to places that are, a bit risky, they could really benefit from this. They even have different coverage options to choose from depending on what you need.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It mentions 24-hour coverage for when you're on like a plane or a train, and even one that's just for air travel. So you can really customize it, huh? But you know what really caught my eye? No medical exams. That seems pretty awesome.
It is.
Especially for folks who might have, those pre-existing conditions. Getting regular life insurance can be a nightmare for them.
It can be really tough, but you got to remember, there are usually trade-offs.
Right.
No medical exam might mean your premiums are going to be higher or the coverage might have some limits.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, one last thing. I got to ask about this because it's a little strange. The presumption of death clause. Basically, if you disappear after an accident and they can't find you for a year, they consider you dead. Kind of sounds like something from a movie, right?
It does, doesn't it? But there's a reason for it.
Okay.
Imagine like a plane crash over the ocean.
Right.
And they can't recover the body. This makes sure that the beneficiary still gets the death benefit, even without, proof. It's a way to provide some financial closure in a really tragic situation.
Wow. That's pretty intense. So let's say someone's listening to this and they're thinking, hey, this is exactly what I need. What do they do? How do they actually get this insurance?
The application process seems pretty straightforward. You got to give them the usual info, like your name, what you do for a living, how much you make, and who you want to get the money if something happens to you. And they've got a questionnaire to figure out your situation, like if you have any pre-existing conditions, if you do any dangerous hobbies, things like that. Oh, and there's a limit on how much coverage you can get. It can't be more than 10 times your annual income unless you have a good reason for needing more.
So they really look at your individual situation then. It's not just a one-size-fits-all kind of deal. Well, this has been quite a deep dive. We've learned a lot about high-limit accident insurance,
Yeah,
from PIU, what it is, who it's for, all that stuff. And it's pretty clear that this is a pretty specialized type of insurance.
it is.
If someone's thinking about getting this, it's probably a good idea to talk to a professional, right? Someone who knows all the ins and outs.
Oh, absolutely. Insurance is complicated, especially when you're talking about specialized policies like this. Talking to an expert can really help you understand the details, make sure you're making the right choices.
Definitely. And you know what? If you're looking for that expert guidance, we highly recommend Diversified Insurance. They're amazing at helping people find the coverage they need and making sure you understand all the options. Better safe than sorry, right?
For sure.
So, as we wrap up our deep dive today, here's something to think about. What are the most unexpected risks you face in your everyday life? It's worth considering. And hey, if you need help figuring that out or you're looking for the right insurance, Diversified Insurance is definitely a great place to start.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you next time.
See ya.